You're sitting at your kitchen table late at night, the house is quiet, your phone screen is glowing in front of you, and on that screen is the number you spent decades trying to reach, $500,000. You stare at it for a second. Part of you feels proud because for years, every article, every retirement calculator, every financial expert kept repeating the same thing. Save $500,000 and you'll be in good shape. So you should feel relieved. You should feel safe. But instead, there's this strange question creeping into your mind. Is this actually enough? Because when you start doing the math, something about that number suddenly feels a lot smaller. My name is Nico, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, retirement, and the strange psychological games our brains play when we see big numbers. If you're someone who's trying to build real financial security in a world where everything keeps getting more expensive, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because today we're going to talk about something that almost nobody explains clearly: what retirement actually looks like if you have $500,000 saved. And the answer might surprise you. Now look, when most people hear $500,000, their brain immediately goes into fantasy mode. They picture beach houses, travel, early retirement, lazy mornings with coffee, and no alarms. $500,000 sounds massive. But here's the thing: retirement doesn't care about the size of the number. Retirement cares about the income that number produces. And this is where the entire conversation changes. Because when financial planners look at retirement portfolios, they often talk about something called the 4% rule. Now, before your brain shuts off, because this sounds like boring finance math, stay with me for a second. The 4% rule is basically a guideline that says you can withdraw about 4% of your retirement savings every year without running out of money too quickly. In theory, in practice, in the real world, with markets that go up and down, and people living longer than ever, many experts now say the safe number is closer to 3% or 3.5%. But let's start with the classic version: 4% of $500,000. That's $20,000 per year. $20,000. Let that sink in for a second. Because when people imagine $500,000 in retirement, they're usually picturing a lifestyle that costs way more than $20,000 per year. And remember, that's before taxes, before healthcare surprises, before inflation slowly eats away at your purchasing power. Now you might be thinking, okay, Nico, but I'll also have Social Security. And that's true for a lot of people. The average Social Security benefit in the United States right now is roughly around $1,900 per month. That's about $22,800 per year. So if you combine Social Security with withdrawals from a $500,000 portfolio, you're looking at something like $42,000 per year. For some people, that's manageable. For others, that's a serious lifestyle adjustment, especially if you spent the last 30 years earning $70,000, $90,000, or even $120,000 per year. Because here's what most people don't realize about retirement: your expenses don't magically disappear. Yes, some things go away. Maybe your mortgage is paid off. Maybe you're not commuting to work every day. But other costs actually increase: healthcare, insurance, unexpected home repairs, helping family members, and inflation quietly pushes everything higher year after year. In fact, according to research from Fidelity, the average retired couple in the US may need over $315,000 just to cover healthcare costs during retirement. That's just healthcare, not food, not housing, not travel, just medical expenses. Now I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this video is getting depressing. But here's where it gets interesting. Because the real problem isn't that $500,000 is useless. It's that most people misunderstand what that number represents. They think it's a finish line, but it's actually just a foundation. Think of retirement savings like a machine. The machine doesn't matter because of its size. It matters because of the income it produces. A $500,000 portfolio invested intelligently can still generate meaningful income, but only if you treat it like a system, not a pile of money. And this is where psychology becomes incredibly important, because when people see a large number like $500,000, their brain wants to protect it. They become afraid to invest, afraid to take risk, afraid to spend, so they park it in savings accounts, earning almost nothing, which ironically guarantees that inflation slowly destroys its value. If inflation averages just 3% per year, the purchasing power of your money gets cut roughly in half over 24 years. So $500,000 today might feel more like $250,000 later. This is why smart retirees focus on three things: income, flexibility, and time. First, income streams. Retirement isn't just about withdrawing money, It's about creating multiple sources of cash flow: dividends, rental income, part-time consulting, small online businesses. Even something simple like tutoring or freelancing a few hours per week can dramatically change the math. Let's say your portfolio produces $20,000 per year, but you also earn $1,000 per month doing light part-time work. That's another $12,000 annually. Suddenly, your retirement income jumps from $20,000 to $32,000. Add Social Security, and now you're approaching $55,000 per year. Same $500,000, completely different lifestyle. Second, flexibility. One of the biggest retirement mistakes people make is trying to perfectly predict their expenses decades in advance. Life doesn't work that way. Some years, you'll spend more. Some years, less. Smart retirees adjust spending based on market conditions. If the market has a great year, they might travel. If the market struggles, they tighten spending slightly. Flexibility dramatically increases how long money lasts. Third, time. This is the one nobody talks about enough. Retirement doesn't have to mean stop working forever. In fact, many of the happiest retirees still stay engaged with some form of productive work, not because they have to, but because humans are wired to contribute. A study from Harvard actually found that people who continue some form of meaningful work in retirement report higher levels of happiness and better health. And financially, even small amounts of income delay withdrawals from your portfolio, which gives your investments more time to grow, which can make a huge difference over 20 or 30 years. Now here's the surprising twist in this entire conversation. $500,000 might not buy the fantasy retirement people imagine, but it can absolutely buy something incredibly valuable. Options to work less, options to change careers, options to avoid financial panic, options to say no to things you hate, because the real purpose of money isn't luxury, it's control over your time. And $500,000, while not infinite, is a powerful tool when used wisely. So if you've saved that amount, you're not behind, you're not failing, you're ahead of millions of people who never saved anything at all. But the key is understanding what that number actually means. It's not the end of the journey, it's the starting point of designing a smarter retirement strategy, because the people who retire comfortably aren't always the ones with the biggest portfolios. They're the ones who understand the math, manage their psychology, and build systems that keep money working long after their job stops. And if you're thinking about retirement right now, the most important question isn't, how big is my savings? The real question is this: how many income streams can my savings create? Because once you start thinking that way, retirement stops looking like a cliff and starts looking like a bridge to a completely different life.